I was a bit slow for the applause, sorry about that. Okay, so the intro is fantastic, and the blurb you have written is also very lovely. Apologies for the photos in spandex. But this story is a little bit personal, so I'd like to tell it slightly differently. So yes, I am a 24-year-old, 2-time world champion powerlifter. I am a recovered orthorexic, bulimic, anorexic. I am a recognized strength coach and rehabber. I have worked in rehab, and I do have a master's in sports rehab. But I am not a success story. We hear a lot of these stories, the constant highlight reels of the successful. But that's not who I want to be today. See, we're told that there are these moments, these revolutionary points in your life where there is a fire lit underneath you and everything changes. And those moments do exist, but they are not life-changing and they do not last. See, for me, there were these moments. The moment I chose to stop being bulimic, the day I decided to pursue strength, and the day that I decided being anorexic and starving myself had to end was a start. These moments were a starting point for sure, but nobody told me how each step would go. See, we get to pick our paths. We choose our directions, but there are many choices, and that changes every single day. Every time you make a choice, there is still a process and a journey. I made a lot of choices over 6 years ago. I made the decision that my outcome was inevitable. Funnily enough, that didn't mean that my choices, that 6 years ago I was a success story. No, I picked a destination, and that changed many times. Here's what I didn't know. I didn't know that choosing to end bulimia would mean fighting every day not to see food as a physical burden. I didn't know that there would be days I would feel like a coward for not purging. This choice, though people would tell me it was bold, brave, and life-changing, was a far greater burden than to keep being bulimic. See, when I chose to pursue strength, there are opportunities for life-changing moments, that there would be chances of success, that I would be able to inspire and educate others and be empowered by my own abilities. No one said that there would be thousands of hours spent in gyms, countless failures, many days spent injured, and that I could embarrass myself on a national stage. Twice. See, nobody told me that pursuing ambition meant that I would have to take on pain and struggle. No one has said that I would be dragging myself through many days, that I would have to do an undergrad degree, then I would have to do a master's degree, which I was seriously unprepared for, that I would have to sacrifice everything, that I would lose many friends, that I would lose 2 years with my girlfriend, that I would, yeah, she's not happy about it either, that I would sacrifice the normal nights out with mates, and I would lose my sanity many times in the middle. Now, don't get me wrong, I sound a little sour. I would change nothing in my life. There are no regrets. But what I would do is warn that brave young man of all that lay before him. I would warn him that turning your back on pain and struggle was not so simple. See, being great came with the burden of not giving in. Thankfully, I work on a simple premise. I work on the idea that once I decide an outcome, it is inevitable. It is going to happen, and it's just the work in between that has to be done. There is no plan B, and there are no excuses. I also have the thought that I can accept an unbalanced life. I don't need to balance social and work. It is all one thing and has been. And anything in my life that wasn't progress, I sacrificed. See, I think that for anyone truly pursuing ambition, you need to be unbalanced. And frankly, I think balance is overrated. I've not seen a single successful person who got to that great life while being balanced in the hardest of times. This came from a poem of sorts I once read by Marianne Williamson. I've taken the whole thing to memory, and I remind people consistently, but the one line that I like to stick to is that our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's slightly misquoted that. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Don't worry, I've only said that hundreds of times. So these are simple words, but they apply to everything in my journey, and they still do today. The idea that what is truly terrifying, what actually scared me, was not the fear of weakness, and it was not the fear of death or pain. It was the fear that I could be and do so much more. The fear that I was wasting seconds I didn't deserve to waste. And that applied to everything in my journey, and it still does today. Even in being here now, I'm not scared that I might stutter and forget some cues. I'm scared that I have the chance to reach maybe one person and make a difference, and I could not get that right. Even though this isn't much fun. See, the chance to be great is a burden, and it's one we all have to bear. Now, sadly, I took on this burden under poor circumstance. Roughly the same time as my journey started, I lost my cousin James at the age of 17. And so in that process, I decided to take on the burden of living out the potential of 2 lives instead of 1. As much good as he would have done, I had to do. As many lives as he would have changed, I had to change. Sadly, there's bits you need to understand about my story. Like any other kids, being bullied for being overweight was a daily norm. And I would love to say I rose above that, but I absolutely didn't. When the world tells you that you are the one to blame, there's no one left. And so I did. And so over the scope of 2 years, I punished myself and I starved myself, and I was far more vile than any other bully could possibly have been or tried to be. Now, shamefully, I was rewarded for it, praised even. At the same time that I was comfortable with my bulimia and anorexia, I was promoting it. I was posting it on Instagram, and I was proud because so many other people were. That number 126 is the number of people that liked that photo. Everything I posted got about 12 before that, so that was a good moment for me. And at the same time, I remember purging that day. See, actually, the better way to phrase this, so there's a spoken word poet that I once listened to called Blythe Baird. Now, there's a line from her poem. You see, when you have an eating disorder, when you're already thin to begin with, you go to the hospital. When you develop an eating disorder, when you are not thin to begin with, you are a success story. See, when I was visibly ill, the world saw my success. Everyone was so pleased to see the results of self-hatred and abuse. Everyone was so happy with the tatters I had been left in. And this was the easy bit. It would have been so easy to take on pain and suffering and label it as success. And this was also my turning point. And not because of some moment of beauty or motivational spark, but because of some weights in a gym. Now, you need to understand my anorexia and bulimia took me to a point where moving was a chore I could not perform. I couldn't walk down the road, I couldn't get off the sofa. And that meant that lifting was somewhat hard. And so I decided little by little that I would eat more and purge less. And not because of some motivational spark or moment of beauty, but because I wanted to lift. And so, taking on the burden of being better and accepting that I was okay, I got stronger. And this bit takes part over about 2 years, and we don't have time for that. I'm already babbling on. So let's cover it in 2 shorter versions. Version 1. I went from my first powerlifting competition to within 1 year, a 2-time British champion, a European champion, 2 times world champion, 13 British records. Yeah, it all sounds lovely. And there are very good things, and I'm proud of those things. But then there's the real version. There were thousands of hours spent in gyms. I trained every day for 2 years. I didn't miss a day. Again, she'll remind you. I was injured so many times, I doubted if it could be done. The harder I worked, the more I lost my friends. And then the longer I worked, the more I got hurt. I was never coached or guided. No one helped me through this. And the longer it went on, the more I was laughed at by those same old friends. This was the hard bit. Being something was so much harder than being nothing. Now, what you see today literally makes this worthwhile. I spend my days with the ambitious. I have international titles and records. I'm a recognized strength coach, and I'm here. And this is my point. So you see my start and you see where I am now. I won't say the finish because I'm not done yet. And for as long as I have passion and ambition, it will go on. That's my beautiful struggle. See, the uphill battle that has already lasted 6 years, that will go on. And I could tell you that now I've resolved all my issues and I love myself fully, but that would be a lie. I could tell you that I find the mental battles every single day easy, and that would be a lie. Instead, I've learned to find strength in the struggle. I've learned that to feel pain and to suffer is not a weakness. A lesson that I've learned that is somewhat less beautiful is that the capacity of care that others around me could give. And this isn't to say people didn't care, but think of it this way. If you took a bullet to the leg, hear me out, it's a bit strange, who feels that bullet? See, people around you are going to care and they feel sad for you, but who does the time in hospital? Who does the rehab? Who feels that pain? These things are your burden to bear, as this was mine. And in my day-to-day, working multiple jobs, training dozens of clients, and still taking on the mental battle every day, I know that to feel pain is not my weakness, but it is my strength. There are days where I miss the boy that I was. I miss the boy who didn't know the burden of what was or what could be. But I know that I stand here now, shaky and nervous, but happier than I've ever been, and prouder than I have ever been. My path has been so far from perfect, but my God, have I fought to make it worth it. Thank you.